Tales from a British household. Hi X, it's been a while since I last posted. I'm using the pseudonym Turnback, but I am the Kiwi fossil hunting anon from a year or so back. I've returned to share a number of odd encounters from my childhood house, outside of Warrington in the UK. I'm currently at work, so my replies may be delayed. I appreciate your patience. I grew up in a small town called Runcorn, next to the neighbouring town of Warrington. I spent the first 10 years of my life in the same house, before emigrating to NZ with my family. The house was not anything special, not an old Victorian building, nor a new construction from the best of my knowledge. It was built in the 80s. However, the events that took place there were far from normal. One of my formative memories is waking up to my room bathed in a brilliant blue glow. I don't remember how old I was during this experience. My best guess would be 5 years old. My room was one on the second story, facing our fenced-off backyard, with a surrounding forest outside its border. I distinctly remember 3 figures inside my room. Their appearance was hazy and almost two-dimensional, as if they were shadows on my walls. I remember them approaching my bed, and then that's it. For the first 10 years of my life, I was utterly terrified of anything even remotely related to aliens, for no apparent reason as well. The depiction of a stereotypical grey would cause me to freeze, have an uncontrollable panic attack, or in extreme cases, wet myself. The older I get, I'm 25 now, the more I think that the memory of the figures in my room was some sort of abduction. As a young child under the age of 5, I had a habit of laughing in my sleep, sometimes until the point of tears. I would also wriggle around and stretch my arms up, as if interacting with an unseen person. This would often perplex my mom and dad, putting them on edge. Eventually they paid it no mind, chalking it up to just a normal occurrence. This was until one night. They are both watching a movie on the couch downstairs. The living room adjacent to the staircase that leads to the upstairs and a corridor connecting the landing to my room. Mom decides it's time to check on me. I would have been around 3 years old, as my younger sister was not born yet. She heads upstairs, leaving my dad on the couch. Reaching the top of the landing, she can see through a small crack in my door, and by the moonlight of my open curtain, a figure standing over my bed, and me, as usual, laughing in my sleep. Assuming my dad had beat her upstairs and was playing with me in the crib, she headed back down. Finding my dad on the couch, she comments that he made it back down here fast. Adamantly refuting that he had not left the couch, they both flew upstairs to find the door wide open, every light in the room now on, and me laughing to the point of tears, sitting up in bed with my eyes closed, fast asleep. One of the strangest incidents occurring at the home happened to my mother. This occurred in early 2007, when our belongings were being removed from the house by movers and placed in containers ready to ship over. We had an oven/cooker top with an extractor fan attached above. This fit into an alcove in our kitchen, with about an inch between the extraction unit and the ceiling. The whole unit was about 7 feet tall and 4 feet off the wall, so it was quite sizable. For years, socks have been going missing in the house, just the odd one here and there, but we were left with a large number of single socks in a drawer without their partner. Mom came home from work one afternoon to find the movers finishing up for the day. One of them asked her, "Are these yours?" handing her 3 neat piles of clean, pressed socks. She quickly realized that those socks were the many that had disappeared over the years. In disbelief, she asked the movers where on earth they had found the socks, as she had practically turned the house upside down on many occasions trying to find them. The worker told her that they were in 3 neat piles at the very back of the 1-inch gap between the extraction unit and the ceiling. The socks did not have a speck of dust on them, but the top of the unit was caked in a thick layer. There was also no evidence the unit had ever been moved. What the fuck? I don't have many. I do have a very distinct picture in my mind's eye of a woman standing by my door, with light coming through behind it, obscuring her features. The prospect of a possible abduction is terrifying, and I have a feeling that there are other instances of people/beings in my room, but I can't quite recall them. Okay, just finished work. One strange thing that happened around the house was a ceiling fan in my parents' bathroom, which until a few years ago, I always assumed was automatic. It would turn on the moment I walked in there for a drink of water, which was a daily occurrence as I just preferred to drink straight from the tap, and theirs was the coldest water. The fan was never automatic, and had to be turned on via a switch on the far wall, well away from the lights. Be about 4 years ago. I had just gotten my license. Drive up to barn party in the mountains. It's about 11 at night. I'd been drinking with my friends, talk about trying to find the old Miller cabin. It's this old cabin where some hermit lived. Apparently, he would steal people's pets and sacrifice them to Satan. I decide to go. I grab my knife and what remains of the vodka and skip along into the woods. We walk for about 30 minutes before we realize how lost we are. That's what we get for letting my drunk friend Brian lead us. We start to retrace our steps when a rabbit bursts out from the undergrowth. Being the manly gentleman I am, I try to distract what I thought was someone trying to assault us by running away. Everyone had split off, and I was with my friends Brian, Steve, and Cam, along with my ex, Claire, and her friend Dana. We wander through the woods, hearing people yelling, but the yells are coming from every direction. Everyone ran as soon as the rabbit jumped out. We all got split up. We head towards a big hill so we can at least get our bearings when we stumble upon the creepiest thing I have ever seen. A motherfucking shrine to Aaron Carter. He was the little brother of a Backstreet Boy and was the equivalent of Justin Bieber before when he was just a child. I shit you not, there are pictures of him nailed to the trees, and not just posters, but like pictures taken during his daily life, like him drinking coffee or driving a car. The pictures range from his childhood as a star to his present status as a burnout. There must have been at least 40 pictures, and some were too weathered to make out. We begin to slowly back away until I bump into something. There is an altar of some sort, complete with halfway burnt candles and a picture of him, smeared with what looked like blood. All of this was seen from the light of Claire's keychain light, so it may have been mud or shit. Brian rips down a photo of AC to show everyone. We nope the motherfuck out of there and literally run into another group. They were on top of the hill and had seen where the fire was burning and were heading that way. We make it back to the party and tell everyone. Brian leads an expedition to wreck the shrine. I decide to just chill and get shit-faced. This was before I discovered I had a set of balls, and as such, I was fine not going along. The rest is all from Brian and his brother Chad. They said they went back looking for the shrine with 12 other people. They were only 100 yards away when they heard someone scream from the direction of the Church of Aaron Carter. Everyone but Brian, Chad, and 2 others stay back while they investigate. They claim they saw someone standing in the clearing, rampaging around, and staring at the now Aaron Carterless tree. Suddenly they stopped and stared in the direction of Brian. The person, Brian said it looked like a girl, screams and starts running after them, so they book it back to safety. I'll tell you a story that I've wanted to share for some time. I was born and grew up in a small rural town in Eastern Europe, literally in the middle of nowhere, just fields for kilometers in all directions. This story was told to me by a taxi driver who was reluctant to drive my drunk ass home late at night. During the drive, he told me the story. Be taxi guy. Sunday night, middle of spring. Driving some girl to my bumfuck nowhere town. 2 a.m.ish. Drop her off. Watch her safely enter her apartment building. Begin looking up the way back on GPS. 1.5 hour drive back to the nearest city. No radio. Look outside. Streets absolutely barren. Just dogs barking and crickets. Highway also empty. Occasional truck or someone speeding. Drive out onto highway. About half an hour into the drive. A little bit on edge and tired. Rabbit runs out into the road. What the fuck? Neat. Slow down a bit as to not hit the little guy. Rabbit speeds up. From the bushes, something emerges, chasing the rabbit into the car lights. Huge fucking hairless ghoul dog. It looks a little like a naked anorexic man, running on all fours. Looks like a shitty chihuahua, but the size of a hunter breed. Fucking El Chupacabra, what the fuck? Get spooked, start driving faster. Rabbit strafes into the grass. Dog slows down and turns its head towards the car. Gets chill on arms. Dog's eyes look really weird and sunken in. Kinda like those pics of a T-Rex from the front. Drive past the weird, crackhead dog. Drive 60 kilometers per hour. Listening to radio, trying to calm down. Get bad feeling. Something moving in peripheral vision. looks to the right. The fucking dog is running parallel to the car. While running, it fucking turns its head towards him. Taxi guy audibly yelps. White knuckle the steering wheel. Dog eventually disappears. Make it back to civilization. Fucking shock. Only one time did anything ever happen to me that was strange. This made me realize our world has many secrets untold or unknown. I'll keep it as basic as possible. It's 1997. I'm 7 years old, playing SNES in my room. Suddenly, all the dogs in our neighborhood start going crazy, howling like they never have before. Stepdad thinks there is a criminal around. Suddenly, a frantic bang at our door. It's the neighbor lady. She said she was going to check in on her mom across the street. Her mom was very old, so I fed the cats as a chore on the weekends, while the daughter was at work, so I had a spare key. I went with my mom and neighbor to see if the old woman was okay. The lights in the living room worked, but nowhere else. We went inside the old woman's room. I stood by the door looking in. The daughter tried talking to her mom, but no response. Suddenly, as the daughter started to feel for a pulse, the mother gave a big gasp and said something. I could not hear, but later, my mom told me that she said, "He's here." I looked where she was looking. Everyone was. There was a dark shadow by the window opposite the bed. I suddenly smelled cigarettes. It went away as I watched it. It was not shaped like a man, but vaguely a human. After that, the mom slowly turned her head, and then silence. All the dogs stopped howling right then. We called the ambulance after that, and that was that. I was told the old woman had an abusive husband who smoked. The daughter believed he was there that night. He died from a motorcycle accident in 1982. This all took place a few years ago, at an old manor house which is being converted into a hotel, which if I recall correctly is called Combe Abbey in the UK. Be me, 19-year-old lad. Get to hotel, and receptionist says they have overbooked. Says we can have a refund, and will let us use an old disabled room. Forced to share a room with younger 16-year-old sister. Don't worry, X, this isn't B. We both walk down a dim lit red corridor to our room. Room looks like no one has been in there for 20 years. Old 70s decor, etc. I go into the room first, and throw my bag onto one of the beds, while my sister shuts the door. As soon as the door shuts, the old TV whines and turns itself on. We both look at each other, then back to the TV. TV begins playing a creepy weather report from what I can only assume was from the 70s. Fuck this, I said, while looking for the cable to the TV. I spotted the plug in the corner of the room below a small window. I bent down and yanked the plug from the wall. TV turned off. While standing up, I happened to look out of the small window. It was a misty but well-lit evening, and the window gave a good view of the courtyard, the drive up to the hotel, and the surrounding moat. A shadow caught my eye when looking down at the moat. What I can only describe as two black bony limbs claw their way out of the water. Call sister over to come look. We both stand there, frozen in fear, as a disheveled, black creature drags itself out of the water. Now in full view on the water's bank, a creature I can only describe as the fucked up love child of SCP-96 and SCP-682 begins sprinting off into the distance. Without even saying a word, we both grabbed our shit and left, running back down the corridor. Spent the night sleeping in the well-lit bar, regardless of the angry staff. Left the following morning, and no one believes us. My sister now freaks out and refuses to speak about it when I bring it up. Story time. Nighttime. Okay, Anons. Here is one weird tale I decided to tell about the town I live in. Be me. Live in Poland. Shithole of a city in the north. So close to Russian border, you can go there and back in one day. Kensen is the name. Sorry, Polish is hard. Pick related. If you don't know what it is, it's the place where Hitler almost got killed in his bunker, but the bomb was too far away. And it only blew away his pants. The bunker is like 10 kilometers away from the city, in a forest, and to this day, the city has a lot of German buildings in it, since it was built by the Germans. Is that true? It's true. I'm putting a picture of his pants on screen now. There is a giant fucking castle in the city dating back to the 14th century, and it was built by the Kazachsky order, don't know the English name, to fuck around with Poland back then. The old city is fucking beautiful, but it has some bad history. Old buildings taken away by force from Jewish citizens. Bolsheviks who committed 200 assaults when they took the city during World War II and massacred nurses in the city hospital. Giant old as fuck Masonic lodge, not in use of course now. It has been turned into a library/coffee restaurant, but back in the 17th to 18th century, it was probably a daily place of meeting to these guys. There are still Masonic symbols all over it too. City can't remove them, cause history protection and all. Basically, the city is very beautiful, but the communistic war crimes, Nazi past, and Masonic shit makes it having a lot of stories around it. Let's start with the old tank. There's one that my grandpa told me about before he died, rest his soul. In the middle of the city, we have a giant fucking lake, beautiful and all, but has a strange story. Basically, there was a tank stuck at the bottom for over 70 years. It ended up there during World War II. The driver didn't know where the lake was and drove right on the fucking ice. Before he knew it, the tank was on the middle of the lake and the ice started cracking beneath him. The story gets foggy here. Some say it is a Russian tank, others say it is German, and never really searched for it, only heard it is real. Also, nobody seems to know for sure if the tank driver drowned too. Grandpa used to say that the driver was there and he died too. Imagine death like this, drowning in the fucking tank, in a cold fucking water. This is where the paranormal stuff begins. Be me, 13 years old, around 2014, and it is summer. Go around with friends, it's dark, we walk near the lake. It's lit, so we aren't afraid, and there are people around. Suddenly I hear something like a metallic thud coming from the lake. It sounds like metal hitting metal, and something is cracking. Literally, the sound that would be made by a tank sinking into the lake back then. We turn around. My friends and my brother heard it too. Nothing. Nothing? There it is. A weird shape floating above the water surface. Half of us did not see it, and don't know if it's because they don't see well in the dark, or if it was because we just saw what we wanted. The thing vanishes into thin air shortly after we look. It's gone, the sound too. We are puzzled, but we just got back to what we were doing. Kinda scared though, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Asked my grandpa next time I saw him, and he told me he saw it too a couple of times. He lived around 100 meters away from the lake, so he often went there for a walk. There was also a case of drowning. 2 people went swimming drunk, and one did not make it back on land. The other one claimed apparently that he saw how the drowned man was screaming and being dragged by something dark. The tank was apparently fished out a couple years ago. I don't check on the city news ever since I moved to a different city, cause high school and all. There was no body in the tank though, which according to some, means that there was no ghost in the first place, but I believe that the body simply fell out. It must still be out there, cold and haunting. Story 2. This one is 100% real, and I sometimes laugh about it actually. As all towns in Poland, our one also had the town hobo, smelly, mentally handicapped dude. Always talked to himself and went around drunk or screaming at the sky. Sometimes he assaulted some kids too. It happened to the dude from my class in school when I was 10. The guy apparently wanted to stab him. One day I hear that he was arrested. Ask the person why. They say he had dead bodies in his apartment. Apartment? How could he afford it? Well, apparently he couldn't. He moved into his grandpa. He helped the old man, but he passed away one day. The dude did not want the authorities to know, so he kept the body in the house and kept taking the money his granddad was being paid. He was retired. One day, the police knocks on the door. They were told that there was something smelly in the house, and they knew that this hobo was never up to anything good. They say, "Hello, Andre," which was his name. Man laughs and says hello back. They nervously ask him if they can talk with his grandpa. He laughs again and says yes. He leads them to his room, and oh my god, the body is beyond recognition. It's been a year. The policemen arrest the dude and throw him into mental hospital. Last time I checked he was out, and is going around homeless, doing his usual stuff. The stuff was the biggest news of the city for a solid half a year. I bet you can find news articles about it if you live in that town. Story 3. The Hitler bunker is a funny place. You can see all kinds of weird stuff from the 20th century, and you can also learn a lot. Be me, around 16 years old. Uncle takes me and my brother, plus 2 of my cousins to the bunker. Tickets bought already. We go. It's still sunny outside. When we arrive, it suddenly becomes cold. Cold like, I mean very fucking cold. The rubbles are super dangerous, but you can go around on your own, without any guides, so we of course fuck around and go exploring. The cold feelings gets only worse when you get inside of the ruins and doesn't leave you. After a while of screwing around and walking, then we hit the fence. There is no more to go. I wanted to go back to my uncle and younger sister, cousin sister, but the cousin who is older and my twin brother who is bigger told me to stay. They said that we should climb over the fence and see if there are any bunkers out there in the forest. I say it is fucking stupid, and I'm gonna stay here and wait for them. They don't even know how easy it is to step on an old fucking mine around places like this, especially places that are out of area. They climb over the fence. I just look and watch how they disappear into the forest. Waiting. Finally, I yell to them. Guys, did you find anything? Silence. Hey, morons, did you find anything, or are you banging there? Still silence. Suddenly, movement. Look deep into the forest. See something moving. Tall figure, dressed in black, with a hat. Holy shit, it's a German fucking soldier. But odd. Dude is very tall, unnaturally tall, like 2.5 meters tall. Black. The face is also jet black, but the SS clothes are recognizable. He just stood there, looking into the forest, looking around sometimes. Seems like he didn't notice me. Shit bricks and just stand there looking horrified. The fucking humper monkey ghost suddenly walks away and disappears behind trees. I sat there, analyzing what the fuck just happened. 5 minutes later, my brothers are back. They are disappointed because there was only one small bunker with random bottles and neo-Nazi graffiti in it. Never told them about it. I am already a schizo, so I don't think they would believe me. Story 4. The fucking sky. There is something so fucking odd about the sky where I used to live. It happens mostly around the region of northeast Poland. Basically, the clouds seem to be a lot higher and take weird shapes. I move a lot between my town and the one I study in, so I can really compare it. The sky is not in a normal blue often. I know this. I know colors. I study in art school as a graphic designer. The sky is not fucking blue in here. It's more like dead blue. It's oddly mixed with grey. The clouds are weird too. Their shapes are not soft and normal. They are more like a chopped wound in the sky. It cannot be described, but the sky above that town is just fucking weird. The clouds often take human shape when the sun is going down, shapes of fire when it is rising, and shape of animals and weird symbols during night. I know all this because I was fascinated by it when I was taking walks as a kid. Watched it my whole life. I can tell you it's not normal. I have a theory it's because that region has a lot of lakes and rivers. Maybe they somehow affect the clouds above, but how? The sun also weird, more shiny, and it turns blood red sometimes when setting down. The most horrifying thing I saw was when the sun turned crimson red at the sunset and got covered by a giant wall of dark, black clouds. It looked like the scene from Lord of the Rings where Sauron is looking from beyond his army and this giant fucking gate of Mordor. I was literally scared looking at it. It was like a nuclear explosion, except blood red. People on the streets were also staring into it like a zombie, looking scared as well. Even my teacher at school, a woman who taught everything about art, agreed with me that the sky in here is super fucking weird, both the color and the clouds. Bit unrelated, but it's pretty close to what you can see in here almost daily. I got a story for you all. It's been a few years, but I still remember it like it happened yesterday. Kinda annoying to be typing it out in greentext on a European keyboard, but fuck it. Tradition and all that. B21. Best friend just got his permanent driver's license and wants to use his car to go camping in the Alps in the south of France. It's me and 2 friends, including the one with the car. We're thinking we can drive from Belgium all the way to the south of France in one day, so we leave in the morning. After hours of driving and a lot of stress from my best buddy, He's the only one who could drive. We decided to camp out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, since it is getting dark. This is somewhere in the south of France. No idea where exactly, but it was all small roads and forest all around us, with no lights, not even street lights. We find a clearing on the side of the road, park there, take our camping shit out of the trunk, and head into the woods to find a suitable place to place our tent. At this point, the sun is almost gone, and the forest is really dense, but luckily we find a clearing, and quickly make a fire and set up our tent. We boil some water over the campfire in our pot, and eat our instant noodles, smoke a cigarette, piss out the fire, and get in the cramped tent to go to sleep. This is a small tent, so it had us lying in there, shoulder to shoulder, all three of us next to each other, with me on the left side. It's a full moon, so there's some of that light shining through the canopy of trees onto the front of our tent. This is important. I'm an insomniac, so I was probably lying there with my eyes closed for about half an hour when a light source to the left of me caught my attention through my closed eyelids. I open my eyes, look to my left, and I see what looks like a flashlight in the distance, about 100 meters away, shining right onto our tent. I figure it's a forest ranger coming to tell us we can't camp here or some shit, so I whisper to the other guys and ask if they are awake. They are, and they see the light too. We're discussing what to say to the guy when he inevitably tells us off, and we decide our bilingual Dutch/French speaking friend is to handle it, since me and my buddy can't speak French for shit. All the while, this light is coming closer. At a certain distance, I would say about 20 meters away from the tent. Keep in mind, it's hard to gauge distance of an outside light source when inside a tent in a pitch black forest, except for the moonlight. The light just suddenly goes out completely. All of us shut the fuck up for a while, but we hear nothing. Literally dead silent environment. After about 30 seconds, I break the silence and ask the guys what the fuck that light was. Of course they didn't know either. Remember earlier I said the moon was shining on the front of our tent? Well, I look to the front of the tent and I see a fucking shadowy figure standing literally right in front of our tent, its silhouette cast by the moonlight. From the angle we were in, you could clearly make out a torso, long arms to the side, and about half the length of its legs, but the head was not projected on the tent. Internally, I'm freaking the fuck out at this point, so I grab my puny ass Swiss Army knife and look over to the guys. They see it too. My bilingual friend starts saying shit in French to this figure. Hello, who are you? Stuff to that effect. No answer. This figure is just standing there with its long arms by its side, motionless. At this point, I'm convinced some fucking lunatic is ready to murder us, and my survival instinct takes over. So I open the Swiss knife, silently grab the zipper, and then as quickly as I could open the tent, and just jumped out to try to tackle this person to the ground in one fell swoop. I jump out and there is nothing there. Nothing at all. Me and my friends look around the tent. We shine our flashlight behind the closest trees. Nothing. Now this is what makes it extra freaky. It was the middle of a dry summer, and the forest floor was littered with dry ass sticks and leaves. No fucking way anyone could step over to our tent without making a single sound, man nor animal, let alone nope out of there in the split second it took me to open the tent. This thing, whatever it was, somehow was able to sneak up to the front of our tent without stepping on the fucking floor. To rule out paranoia, I went back in the tent, closed it up, and looked to see if the figure that we saw was somehow a figment of our imagination, caused by clouds passing by the moon or trees or whatever. There were no shadows in front of our tent at all anymore. My bilingual friend took a scare shit behind the closest tree, and then we noped the fuck out of the forest to sleep in the car that night. We just left the tent in the forest and came back to pick it up the morning after. Rest of the trip was uneventful. Anyone have any idea what we witnessed that night? I've googled cryptids from France, but nothing came up that matched what we saw that night. If any one of you has any ideas, please let me know. This is by far the creepiest shit me and my friends ever witnessed, and it's a complete mystery.